When the flu is keeping you up at night, don't try to tough it out. Knock out your flu symptoms with NyQuil Intense Flu. You got this. It provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms so you can sleep well through the night. NyQuil Intense Flu. The nighttime sniffling, aching, fever, best sleep with a flu medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Quick, choose a meal deal with McValue. The $5 McChicken meal deal, the $5 McDouble meal deal, or the new $6 Daily Double meal deal. Each with its own small fries, drink, and 4-piece McNuggets. There's actually no rush. I'm just excited for McDonald's. For a limited time only, prices and participation may vary. Not valid for McDelivery.
Hello, everyone from the snowed-in Northeast U.S. We are mostly buried under 1.5 feet of snow, still digging our way out. You know where it's not snowy? Florida. The Grapefruit League has kicked off. The Phillies are playing exhibition baseball games. There are things happening. It looks warm. It gives me a warm feeling. It makes me excited to be there this weekend. I am happier in my mind, even though we are all absolutely piled under by the deluge that was the blizzard of 2026. And I even like snow. I'm a little bit done. I'm ready to be warm. Just like all these guys are ready to play ball. And they've come out ready to go, tuning up for the World Baseball Classic. Other guys in camp getting ready to fill in when those guys ship off for a little bit. And in the midst of all of that, Matt had the opportunity to sit down with Bryce Harper to, as the article puts right plain in front of us in the headline, what is Bryce Harper thinking? Not in that he's crazy way, but like, what's he thinking? What's he actually thinking? It's been an eventful offseason off the field for Bryce, and Matt had the chance to talk with him about it. That piece is up on The Athletic, and we're going to talk about that and a couple other things today. First, let me welcome in Matt and say hello. Welcome home from Florida. You came home from Florida just before all this madness really settled in. How's about that for a jarring transition?
Yeah, I think I'm the only one who moved up his flight to get home before the storm, but I'm glad I did. You got way more snow than we did here. We got probably about 1 foot, and it was not that bad to get off the ground because the ground was a little warmer. Sounds like you've had a different experience, but you're going to Florida this week. When do you leave? I forgot.
I am. My dad and I are flying down early Friday morning. We're getting the first Frontier flight out of Jersey all the way down, and then we're gonna have a nice long weekend down there. It's gonna be good to be down there for the third year. This is the third time we're doing this, and catch a couple of games.
You're gonna see more of like the real pitchers. I mean, if you've been paying attention to the box scores or even watching some of the games that have been on, I know not all of them have been on TV. The Phillies are, I would say, slow playing, a lot of their guys with a capital G. I mean, we have seen very, very, very few of the actual pitchers that we expect to be on their opening day 26-man roster. And that's by design. It's not an injury thing. It's a long camp, right? And I think especially for the relievers, most of those guys have a target number of appearances that they like to get in mind before the regular season starts. And you'll start to see more of those guys beginning Wednesday when the Phillies are at home for a pretty prolonged stretch. Not many veterans, especially the pitchers, made the trip across the state for their little 2-game West Palm Jupiter swing. But yeah, you should start seeing some of the real guys this weekend, pitching wise.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, it's earlier than we've been down. So I was sort of hoping that there would still be a lot of the big guys around camp, but it's always a nice mix anyway. And I know, like you mentioned, that this short road trip continues. The pitching group for today features, you shared Nolan Hoffman, Max Lazar, Alex McFarland, Andrew Walling. I mean, those are not the guys.
And a lot of guys from minor league camp.
Yeah.
Them. Yeah.
Those are not the guys you expect to be headlining the big boy bullpen, but such is the way it goes in spring training. As far as big boys go, however, they still don't come much bigger than Bryce Harper. I know we've spent a lot of time talking about, elite ? Through the past couple of months. He's certainly spent some time with it mentally. We've tried to chew through it on the outside here, but Matt, you had the opportunity to actually spend a little bit of time with Bryce recently and talk with him about all of this, because it seems like this has been one of the more challenging off seasons for him since he's been here, really. I mean, you can count his signing with the Phillies as tumultuous and eventful, if we want to go that route with how long it took. But really, I don't think we've experienced, certainly I don't think he has experienced, quite this level of off-season scrutiny and prodding as he has. And I'm guilty of it too. I've certainly done it. Matt, what did you get the sense from Bryce about how he's had to process all of this, as much as he's let himself process it? I know athletes tend to tune us out.
Well, I mean, the interview started along the lines of, like, in my mind, I've been thinking about a couple things. One being, certainly it looked like last season wore on Bryce Harper, like that he more visibly wore his failures, his frustrations than before. Two, I think for the first time, not ever, but one of the first times in Bryce Harper's career, it just feels like this cloak of invincibility that he's worn for so long, right? Even with all the expectations that he has, and that the sport has on him, he's often lived up to it, which is quite a thing, right? I mean, quite a thing, because it's very hard, because the expectations are real high, right? I mean, it's been almost 17 years since he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and that is staggering to think about. It just felt, though, this offseason that for the first time there was just kind of like a little bit of a crack in that cloak of invincibility, and I couldn't help but wonder how that's made him feel. And obviously, like, he's given various interviews, and a lot of the stuff that he said to me was not particularly new or noteworthy, but I do think he was introspective. And next week he's going to go play for Team USA in the WBC. It's the first time he's playing for America since 2009, since he was 16 years old. And you can't help but contrast, at least I can't, that time of his life with now, and wonder about the physical and mental strain that being in the in the constant spotlight has on a person. And I found some of his answers to be really interesting. I think in particular, and he's said something like this before, but just him admitting that, and this is not, I mean, like, I think there's reasonable criticism and frustration with Bryce Harper right now. And my biggest thing would be this idea that he didn't have as much success as he should have had last year because he didn't have a good right-handed hitter hitting behind him. We can debate the virtues of protection in a lineup forever.
Sure.
But I think that Bryce kind of said it out loud without. I think he himself has poked some holes in the idea that he didn't have a great season last year because of the lack of protection behind him. I mean, I think he really, like, he said that he needs to walk more, and, like, it seems like he just hasn't. He said, like, I thought one of the things he said that stuck out is, like, I still have a lot to prove to myself. He said, that's my inner monologue. You know what I'm saying? I put a lot of pressure on myself. I just always have. And so the natural question I had was, well, what do you have to prove? And he says, well, I need to prove that I can play this game until, essentially until he's 40, like, because he truly does at a high level. Like, he truly does believe that he can. But I think what's on his mind right now is the fact that he swung at too many pitches last year, especially pitches out of the zone. And that has nothing to do with who's hitting behind him. And maybe it does. Maybe he thinks in his mind, oh, I got to be the guy. I have to do it because the guy behind me isn't going to get the job done. I don't think that's how he thinks. I really don't. I think in his mind, I wrote this, I mean, and it felt this way. And correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but I mean, there were times last year where, like, he took an at bat and you're like, this guy just wants this at bat to be done. Like, he's not even like, it's not a cat and mouse game. It's more like he's just going up there and he's going to swing at everything, right?
That was the tough part to watch when it was really he never had any massive slumps that I can think back to right off the top of my head. I'm sure he had cold streaks. Everybody does baseball, right? But frequently each week you'd see him just go up and he would swing at that first pitch no matter where it was. And that's not his pedigree. That is not what he had built his whole approach on. Like, he could be aggressive for sure. He's never been one to be shy about swinging at the first pitch. It was the type of pitches that he was swinging at. They were nowhere close a lot of the time. They were waste pitches in some points, and he would swing. And I think that's weird with a player like that who's been around for so long to just kind of drastically increase a bad tendency like that. Just bury himself like that. Look, if anybody's going to dig himself out of 0-1, it would be Bryce Harper, the Bryce Harper that we've come to know, but he didn't always do that. It was just a weird year approach-wise, and I think that's what stuck out to me as one of the bigger red flags.
Quick, choose a meal deal with McValue. The $5 McChicken meal deal, the $6 McDouble meal deal, or the new $7 Daily Double meal deal. Each with its own small fries, drink, and 4-piece McNuggets. There's actually no rush. I'm just excited for McDonald's. For a limited time only, prices and participation may vary. Not valid for McDelivery.
The secret is out. With millions of younger-looking customers across the country, Plexiderm is one of the most highly sought-after products on the market. It visibly shrinks under-eye bags and smooths out crow's feet in minutes, and the effects last up to 10 hours. Influencers love it, magazines feature it, and people just can't get enough of it. As a matter of fact, Elle Magazine gave it an Editor's Choice Award as Best Instant Wrinkle Filler for 2025. In as little as 10 minutes, Plexiderm reduces the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, and those dreaded under-eye bags. So yes, you can look years younger in minutes, and the effects last for hours. No surgery, no gimmicks, just results. The best news, you can try Plexiderm for only $14.95. Plus, get free shipping. Don't wait. Order Plexiderm today. Visit plexiderm.com/special. That's plexiderm.com/special. Paid for by Sheer Science.
In 2024, a truck crashed into Kanawha Animal Rescue, where I work. 146 of our dogs needed homes fast. We asked for help on Facebook. Our story spread through WhatsApp messages and Instagram reposts. Immediately, people stepped up.
I'm here to foster.
And just 6 hours later, every dog was fostered. I'll never forget how our community showed up for us.
Learn how over 3.5 billion people connect to what matters with Meta at meta.com/community.
Few things are as uplifting as the greatest moments in sports. And nothing brings us together quite like Team USA at the Olympic Winter Games. From NBC Universal's iconic storytelling to the innovative technology across Xfinity and Peacock, Comcast brings the Olympic Games home to America, sharing every moment with millions. When Team USA steps onto the world stage, we're not just watching, we're cheering together. This winter, we're all on the same team. Comcast, proud partner of Team USA.
Right, and so he says, I'm going to read his quote. Here is his, he says, I haven't trusted my instincts as much as I should in the batter's box. And then I'm like, well, why not? And he says, I don't know. I don't want to walk anymore. And then I got to that point. And when I get to that point, it's bad for me. My dad gets really mad at me about it because when I walk, I'm better. And that's a very mature thought, and he's not wrong. I mean, I think we would all agree that.
No, I think his dad's right. Yeah.
When he's more selective, and it's not just raising his on-base percentage, it's that when he spits on good pitches that are close, but they're balls, he's forcing the pitcher in the next at bat to come to him, to throw him more strikes. And naturally, with more strikes, Bryce Harper is going to do damage. Paul, I have a stat here that I can't believe I didn't think about this or figure this out until now.
You teased
I have a stat.
You teased this in Discord, and I'm excited to hear what this actually is. What is it?
And I hope I did this right on Savant, but this has got to be one of the most insane stats, and it so well explains what happened with Bryce Harper last year. Okay. So in the last 7 seasons, and this is since Harper joined the Phillies. Okay. I'm going back to 2019. This is across MLB. There was only one player with at least 400 plate appearances who swung at the first pitch 0-0 at a higher rate than Bryce Harper did last season.
Wow.
53.8%. And that's over the last 7 seasons. Minimum 400 plate appearances. Do you want to know who number 1 was on that list?
I would like to know who number 1 was.
2025 Nick Castellanos.
I was thinking it might be too obvious.
Now, wait. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So you say, all right, well, yes. And Bryce has told me this before. I often like to swing at 0-0 because often it's going to be the best pitch that I get in that at bat.
He has said this,
And,
yes.
and he's not generally not wrong about that. But last year, when the book was kind of out and that he was swinging at pretty much, again, as the numbers say, more than half the time he was going to swing at 0-0. Teams stopped throwing him good pitches 0-0 because they knew that he was going to swing. So now let's take it a step further, right? Let's look at 0-0 pitches out of the strike zone as defined by Savant/Game Day.
Okay.
Again, in the same time frame, the last 7 seasons, over 400 plate appearances. Harper last year swung at a first pitch out of the zone 20.2% of the time. Second highest in the last 7 seasons behind 2025 Nick Castellanos. And we're talking about I don't know, a little more than 100-ish plate appearances here, which is a fraction, right? Because he took 580 of them last year.
Right.
But when you're behind 0-1 so often, and when it's self-inflicted, when you're swinging at a pitch that is out of the zone. And by the way, on 0-0 pitches last year, any 0-0 pitch, whether it was in the zone or not in the zone, Harper had 5 hits last year. So he took 116 0-0 swings on pitches out of the zone, and 5 of them were hits.
Wow.
12 of them were outs, and the rest were either foul balls or swing strikes. Wow. So often a lot of 0-1 counts. Okay. Whoa. And those are the 0-0 pitches out of the zone. And now you're talking about, okay, well, what if he just shaved that in half and took the first pitch and he's got 1-0, some of those plate appearances are going to go very differently. And he's probably looking at closer to like, I don't know, a 900 OPS last year instead of 844. Because the margin is not, it's not when you're talking about 50 plate appearances here that could have gone, and we're not saying he's going to get 50 hits on half these plate appearances where he takes 0-0 instead of swinging, but better things are bound to happen when he's up 1-0 rather than behind 0-1.
Yes.
And this to me is everything. And the way listening to Bryce explain it the way he did to me, I hadn't really heard him say it that way. And it it just kind of plays into this idea that he was, I don't want to say bored. I did use that word in the story, but I don't think he was always bored during the season. But it looked like at times that he was either bored or disengaged or I don't know, right? I mean, like the body language was weird. And I appreciate the fact that he's like, I don't, stop asking. He's like, stop asking me about why I don't smile. I said, okay. And he wasn't like combative about it. He was just, I think he was just like, what, why does that matter?
Yep.
And I was like, well, I mean, because he's a guy who, his energy, his on-field energy is contagious. It really is.
Yes.
Like when he appears to be having a good time or when he's fired up or aggressive, like it seems to be something that everybody kind of feeds off of. And that's a cliche, but I do think that at times it does apply to Bryce Harper. And I think the way he took his at-bats at times and the way he was just sort of, I hesitate to use this word because it is the ultimate insult I can give a baseball player. And I don't think this is true, but there were times where it looked like he might've been throwing some at-bats away. And I would never accuse a player of doing that because I think I don't think Bryce Harper was throwing away at-bats. I think Bryce Harper had in his mind thought that he needed to be ultra aggressive for some reason. I don't know if it was out of boredom or if it was just out of like, I need to be the guy. I have to be the guy. Why am I not the guy? I'm always the guy. I have to be the guy. It just, the way he took his at-bats last year, I think that's just such a microcosm of like where he's at right now. And now, okay, take a step back, Paul. The fact that he is able to recognize, right, that, this is
good
not,
first step.
I mean, like, this is not who I am. It's not how I should be. And it's not what I'm going to be. Actions will speak louder than words. Let's see what his at-bats look like when the season starts. But I've seen the reactions to the story. I think it's mixed, and I think that was the intended purpose because I think Bryce Harper is a complicated guy who is in a real confusing spot right now for all of us, not just for him. Not for him. I don't think that he's confused, but I think we're all a little bit confused about Bryce Harper, and it's weird to say that because that almost never happens.
Well, yeah, there is uncertainty here, and there is a difference between the affect and the intonation of words spoken versus the ones printed and the punctuation that goes into them to try and convey what was said and how it was said in that moment. It's part of the process of actually writing a story like this, right? And editing it and make sure that everything reflects the mood, the tone. And I looked at this story and something really stood out as I was reading it, and I did a control F and I went through and I counted in the quotations that made the story from Bryce. There were 14 question marks inside of those quotation marks. Now I know that is like, okay.
I don't think I realized that. That's interesting though.
But like things can be said a little differently that aren't just necessarily like questions or probing or answer. That's just one thing. And I think though it represents certainly how I feel a little bit, at least, about what Bryce is going to do going into this year. I have long thought, and that is uncertainty, just to make that clear. I have long thought that plate discipline and swing decisions are one of the best indicators of an offensive player's ability to age well.
100%.
I think that is a quality that will keep players afloat even as their physical skills start to diminish a bit and they're, less able to catch up with fastballs. If they can trust their eyes, they can make mechanical adjustments to float a little bit better by and large. And I think that sets them up better.
And it's funny you say that because people don't necessarily think that of Harper because they see the big swings, the aggressive swings.
Yeah.
But that has been a calling card of Harper's
Yes.
for since he's been in the majors, is that his recognition of what is a strike and what is not a strike.
Yes. And to see that, I'll call it a single season deterioration last year. I mean, if you're in the same company as Nick last year and what he was doing in his trends, that's not where you want to be. I expect Bryce Harper to bounce back, especially if he is doing this introspection. He is asking these questions. He is recognizing that something was not quite right. Even if he'll quibble with the not elite, even if he'll quibble with the,
Sure.
on the decline part of it. Okay. He clearly recognizes that something was different too. We see it. He sees it. We may all put different words to it, but we all see it.
My not elite t-shirt is prompting a lot of questions about my shirt. And yes, like I couldn't help but use that because clearly like this affected him. This hurt him.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
He won't say it, but I think he's kind of said it, hasn't he?
It's the humanist element to it. You almost kind of have to assume that there is some human part of every one of these guys. And that as
I
they
can assure you there is, yes.
Yeah. And as they experience some of this, some of it may break through. They may do a better job of hiding it and it may affect them for less time. And we may never be able to quantify anything like that. I hope we don't. I don't want to get that deep. But there is definitely a human level to all of this that, yeah, you could be affected by it. And I would not at all be surprised if you were affected by it, no matter who you are. And yeah, think about Harper being in this spot for 20 years now. He's been doing this same thing in Major League Baseball for 15 years. Like it kind of has to feel a little old hat to him right now. I get that there is still the unfinished business of him not having won a World Series. And that is surely something that is keeping him motivated. He is not checked out. But it is at a certain point where it does feel like de rigueur, like where it's just kind of the thing that happens on your way to getting to the regular season. And now you add in the fact that there are people questioning where he is in his abilities, where he is in his career. And that adds a layer on top of the malaise that he might feel. I'm kind of putting words into this, but you might feel that about the offseason for the 16th time, whatever it is, where you've just kind of had to go through this again to get your body ready again for this grind, this grueling stretch of time where you put yourself through it to get something that has eluded you for a decade and a half, even though you've been at the top tier of the sport. That's a lot for a mind to have to take on. Even as somebody who hasn't experienced that and will never be in that position, I can certainly think it's a lot for a mind to have to deal with for so long.
Well said. I mean, that's I find Bryce to be endlessly fascinating because of all those reasons that you just laid out, and I appreciate that he was, I, I think, mostly forthcoming, and even if he wasn't forthcoming when talking to me, I think he was introspective, as I said, and I think that you can interpret some of the things he said however you want to interpret them, and I think he does that on purpose. Like, he's very good at this, and I'll say this wasn't like
Yes.
this wasn't something we had like planned out. I mean, I had kind of um, I came back over the weekend, but last week, late last week, I was like, look, before you go and before I go, like, can we sit for a little bit? And he's like, well, how much time do you need? I was like, I don't know. And he's like, well, why don't we just do it right now? And I said, okay. And so we did. It was very impromptu.
Oh, wow.
I'll
Okay.
say that. So it's not like he had like a ton of time to prepare for this, and I didn't either. But I mean, I think it was interesting where it kind of led. And so it wasn't like this planned out sort of thing. So maybe I caught him at a vulnerable moment. I don't know, because I don't know that he even said anything that's necessarily that earth shattering, but I do think I ended the story with him essentially said, I don't let people get into my head, and like, that's just who I am. I've always been that way. I don't think anyone is ever going to get to think what I feel or how I feel about it. And I thought that was interesting because he shared a lot of thoughts before he said that. And I think that, everyone's going to interpret them in different ways, and it's going to depend on how you look at Bryce Harper right now. And I think that's what makes him so fascinating, is that 17 different people can read that story and come up with probably 17 different reactions to what Bryce Harper said.
Yeah.
Quick, choose a meal deal with McValue. The $5 McChicken meal deal, the $5 McDouble meal deal, or the new $6 Daily Double meal deal. Each with its own small fries, drink, and 4-piece McNuggets. There's actually no rush. I'm just excited for McDonald's. For a limited time only, prices and participation may vary. Not valid for McDelivery.
Last year, Instagram launched teen accounts, which default all teens into automatic protections for who can contact them and the content they can see. And we'll continue adding new safeguards for teens to help give parents peace of mind. Explore teen accounts' automatic protections and all of our ongoing work at instagram.com/teen accounts.
A question from AT&T and FirstNet. When you dedicate your life to saving others, don't you deserve something dedicated to you? We think so. That's why the government chose us, AT&T, to build FirstNet, a one-of-a-kind nationwide network for first responders. Because their connection changes everything. Learn more at firstnet.com.
Few things are as uplifting as the greatest moments in sports. And nothing brings us together quite like Team USA at the Olympic Winter Games. From NBC Universal's iconic storytelling to the innovative technology across Xfinity and Peacock, Comcast brings the Olympic Games home to America, sharing every moment with millions. When Team USA steps onto the world stage, we're not just watching, we're cheering together. This winter, we're all on the same team. Comcast, proud partner of Team USA.
I guess one final note on Bryce, just as I'm thinking about it, I would appreciate it personally. I would appreciate it if this is more how he is moving forward. Be a little more human. I think, people called it pandering. I never really thought it was pandering necessarily. I think he did a really good job of actually integrating himself with a Philadelphia style. It seemed to really become part of who he was, and it became less about, building something up or putting on any kind of facade or any, trying too hard to be like you're fitting in, right? It seemed more natural as the years went on. But now that we're past that, now that we're into the second half of his massive deal, his massive contract that changed the trajectory of this franchise, and we're at a point where some of us, Bryce included, are wondering what this season brings and which path he continues to walk from here. I appreciate this kind of sentiment from him, even if it doesn't give us big answers, even if it doesn't give us any sort of splashy, confessional thing or anything that really opens up a brand new door into Bryce Harper's life. Just to be real. Just keep being this person. If you're unsure, be unsure. It's cool. If you're confident, like he was last year when he said, I'm still really good at this. Good. Be confident.
I
That's
forgot
good.
about that.
Just be you, man, because you're 30. Your 30s are a time where, especially as a ball player, you're gonna feel it more, man. And you don't have to try to hide that. If it gets to you, just be real. I know people, Alec Bowman grates on people. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Bryce style. Just be real. Don't, don't piss on her leg and tell us it's raining, right? Like you don't have to do that. Just
You're
be real.
really speaking to me as somebody who turns 39 in 2 weeks.
Yeah, right. Just did that last month.
There's one quote real quick that I didn't use.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to read it to you right now because it speaks to what you just said. First of all, I think Bryce is about as close to as real as they come in terms of star players. And that's from somebody who's around him every day for the last 7 years. He's as accessible of a star player, I think, as there is in the sport. But
excellent.
In the story I read, I used part of this where he talks about Philly media is going to have an opinion, New York media is going to have an opinion, Boston media is going to have an opinion, all this. And I'm like, well, but I was like, dude, you've hit on what's so unique is that the Boston media doesn't have an opinion about very many players who aren't Red Sox.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And but he said, he's like, everybody's going to, this is Bryce quote, everybody's going to have an opinion on who I am or how I am or anything, but you can attest to this. If you're in the clubhouse every day, you listen to me talk, you listen how I am, what I'm about, how I go about things. You're like, oh man, I could go grab a drink with this guy or hang out or watch college football or do all these things. And that's it. And he's not wrong. I mean, like Bryce, I think he's been increasingly human. I think when he was with Washington, there were some restrictions put on him by the organization. I think they, and he was young. He was younger. I mean, I think he he would say things maybe that he shouldn't say, but like I think, bro. Sure, yes, but I think here in Philadelphia, I think he is growing up here. He is getting older here. He has become a father here. All those things. And so, I think you're right, Paul. I mean, I think the more people can connect with him, and maybe people would say, well, I just saw too much of Bryce Harper in this story. Maybe. Maybe. Yep. Like maybe.
That's one of those 17 different opinions, right?
Yes. But I enjoyed the conversation. There's a lot that I ended up not using, but I think I captured, I hope I captured the general spirit of kind of how he was feeling. And I'm mostly done talking about, the off season with him and all this stuff. I think we're all done with it. And I am really, really, really curious to see like how he does with Team USA and whether he has like that big moment or a big hit and or helps contribute to a win and the US wins the WBC. It feels like it would help him right now.
Well done. The story's title is What is Bryce Harper Thinking on Baseball, Boredom, and Being a Kid Again in the WBC. It is on The Athletic right now. Go read it. Do it. Find out what we're talking about. Get an insight into Bryce's head. A couple more minutes here, I think, on this episode.
What are you excited to see this weekend? Who do you want to see? Who you looking to see?
I am hoping Aiden Miller's sore back is a minor thing, and maybe he makes his way into a couple games by this weekend. I was very just keeping with the big kids. I was very happy to see Justin Crawford's first at bat go as well as it did.
How about that?
Scalding line drive and then a huge opposite field, left center field double off a lefty, a major league lefty. That's about as good a start as you could get.
Then he struck out on a pitch timer violation in his next at bat.
The ups and downs of rookiedom. And I was also, this game wasn't televised, and I think there's a little bit of back and forth about how accurate this reading is exactly. But Brian Rincon, the minor league infielder for the Phillies, who's missed a bunch of time the last couple of years, but kind of stood out as a capable middle infielder with some good plate discipline.
Had a rough year
years ago.
Year.
Yeah. Hit a ball 111 miles an hour for a double. Again, this is not televised. Like that would be a career high.
MLB has standardized all of the spring training parks now have like real StatCast, like the stuff that the big league ballparks do. Now, is it properly calibrated?
Yeah,
every
ballpark?
Calibrated. I don't know. Like I'm certainly there could be some questions about that, but I don't know if your tinfoil hat is necessarily needed here.
Oh, okay. That's excellent. And I guess those are the big ones that stood out. I know.
Especially because I think the Nationals have new front office, and I think they're making sure that's right. A new front office that is very much data reliant.
Yeah,
much so than the previous one.
Yeah, exactly right. Another smart front office in the division. And I guess turning it over to you, since it was only, it was 2 games that had anything on TV and 1 tie that was on radio only. In camp and around these games, what else were you able to pick up on in your week plus down there?
Well, I think a couple of people have written about it, and I shouted him out last week. But Todd Zalecki at MLB.com had a good feature on it. But Kyle Backus is like, I don't know, a different pitcher than the guy that I thought that they were acquiring.
No kidding.
And probably a different pitcher than the Diamondbacks thought they were trading, from what I've gathered. He's throwing harder. He put on 15 to 20 pounds in the offseason.
Wow.
And not just, I'm not saying muscle. I mean, I think he's a pretty thin guy, and I think he stood to just put on some extra padding.
Yeah.
And mass is gas, right? And he doesn't need to be throwing, he's got the super extension, right? Because not only is he coming, right, not only is he coming from the side, but he's a tall guy, and where he releases the ball, it's very close. It's closer to home plate than most pitchers in the sport. So 92 does look a little harder, but now he's throwing 93, 94, and you're like, this is kind of interesting.
Okay.
I will be really surprised if he doesn't make the team.
Oh, wow. That's a nice early call. I like that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Anybody else? I don't know. They really haven't used a lot of their pitchers, so it's hard to say, but
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's enough. I think Rafael Marchand has taken some good at bats, and I know he hasn't had like a ton of results yet, but I think he's when healthy. I mean, I think he's a really solid major league backup catcher.
I agree.
It's not really a hot take, but yeah.
No, it's good to have. I like him. I hope he keeps progressing, and I hope he keeps hitting home runs in the majors. It's one of my favorite running bits that he's got like twice as many homers in the major leagues.
Yes.
And in the minor leagues. Okay, excellent. That's a decent summation of the first handful.
I wonder if you might see Painter this weekend.
I am hoping. I didn't want to speak it out there because I know there's a chance. I feel like there's a chance, but we'll see. We're doing the wraparound games Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Saturday is the one in Dunedin against the Blue Jays. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and hope for the best. So again, go check out Matt's story talking with Bryce Harper. That's the good stuff in there, man. Go read that, check that out, get yourself set for where Bryce's head is at lately. If you want more, if you want to join the Discord that I name dropped a couple of times throughout this episode, that's part of our Patreon membership, $5 a month. That's it. Patreon.com/Phillies Therapy. That is an ever-growing group. Really happy with how the offseason went in terms of group growth over there. Would love to have you be a part of that. And
next week, I can't wait for you to give me your full Clearwater report.
Time for my camp crushes. Yeah. Maybe I get to see Kyle Backus in there. I rented a camera lens that I'm going to bring down there. So I'm going to try and take some nice little action shots.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
There's a store up near me in North Jersey that rents lenses out by the day. So I just booked it for a few days. I'm going to bring it with me and
That's pretty cool.
Take a few pics. Yeah. Unique Photo in Fairfield to give them a little non-advertised shout out.
Okay.
All right. There we go. Thanks everybody for listening. Really appreciate you hanging out with us. We will talk with you again next week where I will be tan, which will come across well on the radio. And we'll talk a little bit more about camp and what guys are doing. And hopefully see a few more games on TV. And that'll do it. Thank you for listening to Phillies Therapy, part of the Believe Podcast Network. For Matt, I am Paul. Stay warm out there.
Few things are as uplifting as the greatest moments in sports. And nothing brings us together quite like Team USA at the Olympic Winter Games. From NBC Universal's iconic storytelling to the innovative technology across Xfinity and Peacock, Comcast brings the Olympic Games home to America, sharing every moment with millions. When Team USA steps onto the world stage, we're not just watching, we're cheering together. This winter, we're all on the same team. Comcast, proud partner of Team USA.
Life's busy. Don't let banking slow you down. Whether you're paying bills, setting savings goals, or just splitting the check, Atlantic Union Bank makes managing your money easier. With helpful people and user-friendly tools, we make sure banking with us fits you. Call, visit us online, or drop into an Atlantic Union Bank branch today. Atlantic Union Bank. Any way you bank.
LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't predict the future, but it can help you feel confident about future hires. Because Hiring Pro combines real-time insights and candidate data from the LinkedIn network with the criteria you've set for your role to deliver you a list of top-fit candidates. Businesses who use LinkedIn are 24% less likely to reopen a role in the next 12 months. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post your first job today and get $100 off at linkedin.com/Pandora offer. Terms and conditions apply.
Dear McDonald's, your breakfast menu? Fire. 10s across the board. I could be happy with anything, even though I ordered the same thing every time. Thanks for not judging me. I'll try something new next time. Maybe.
Score a 2 for $5 deal on a sausage McMuffin with egg and more. Limited time only. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer. Single item at regular price.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
For a small business owner, every day is full of surprises. Some great, some not so great. Like when a client cancels their order at the last minute. But here's a surprise you will like. Progressive provides small business owners with 30 customizable coverage options to help keep their business going strong. So go ahead, surprise yourself. Get a quote in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates and third-party insurers. Coverage is not available in all states or for all vehicles and coverage selections.